Please, my name is Jessica and welcome to Makeup.misfit. And I have my update for Pan That Palette in Order. However, it's going to be a rather quick update. I've been working on the shade Lavish in my Patrick Ta Major Dimensions palette, and excluding the creams, that makes it the third shade on the top row, which is this matte right here. Now, last update, I went from the second shade to the third shade, but I've only actually been using this shade for the last 3 days. So I definitely have not reached into this palette at all. I've thought about it, but I just haven't. I was focusing on other things, put my attention elsewhere, and I just kind of let this one slide. I did think about it, but I just never actually reached for it until about 3 days ago. So with only having 3 uses on this shade, I can tell you that I do find it's quite pigmented and kind of quite powdery as well. So what I like to do is when there is a lot of kick up in a pan from whatever shade it may be, I tend to try and use the kick up instead of constantly just focusing in on the shade in whatever spot I'm working on, and try to just clean it up a little bit by using the actual product. So I think with A, that, and B, how pigmented I find this is, it's gonna take me a little bit of time before I'm actually able to show you guys some decent progress in this shade. Now with only 3 uses, this is what it's looking like. So you can see that there is some use going on in this, but I did switch the brush that I was using as well. I go back and forth with the brush that I use in my crease, and the brush that I have switched to is a little more dense and a little more firm opposed to the fluffier one that I use most times. Sometimes I just find one works better than the other, and I just kind of go back and forth between the two sometimes. So that's the one that I switched to today, actually. So we're gonna see if that's gonna help make, usually it does help make a difference. I was using it a couple of years ago and I was hitting pan like crazy. So maybe that's the brush that's going to help me hit pan, but also blend everything on my eyes a little bit better. Like I said, I go back and forth between the two for whatever reasons, because sometimes one works better than the other, and then you know how it goes. So what I'm going to do is, because I know it's going to take me a little bit of time to make any sort of progress in this shade, I don't think there's going to be an update next month. Now, I did mention in the beginning that this was just going to be a very chill project. I just wanted to see how long it was going to take to hit pan in every shade in this palette. And there may be monthly updates, quarterly updates. We'll have to see how it goes. I think I'm just going to show you guys updates whenever there's decent progress. So whether that's a really good dip, a dip has been started, or pan, I will give you guys an update. It's always going to be on the same day of the month, so it's always going to be on the 14th, but it may not be in August, maybe September, maybe November, who knows. So I'm hoping it's not November, but you know what I mean. Sometimes it might be back to back. Sometimes there might be a couple months in between. Just whenever there is good progress, the 14th of whatever month that falls into is when there's going to be an update for this palette. I'm hoping it's only going to take me a few months, but I am thinking like another 2 to 3, only because I only have 3 uses on it. It is a little bit more orange than I was expecting. Why, I don't know. In the pan, I guess it doesn't really look that way, but when you swatch it out, it's probably just because of all the other shades that it's with. It kind of tones it out a little bit. But when you compare it to the swatch to the actual shade, you can tell that it is a little bit more on the orange side, which I don't really mind. However, that's not always what I'm really going for. So today I am actually wearing this as its 3rd use, and I went into this right after setting my lid. So it's pretty much my like transition shade that I used in my outer V and into my crease. And then I took my Pan That palette, my Lorac Mini Pro palette, and I took the matte lighter brown and the matte mauve in there, and I kind of like threw those into the crease as well. So it did help tone the orange down a little bit. You're not going to be able to see it, but like right on the edge of where the shade is, you can still see that it's got the orange tone to it. But if that's not necessarily what I'm going for, then I feel like the only way I can really make this shade work on those days is to blend it out with other tones and other shades that I do want to kind of gear my look towards, whether it be more mauve-y, more neutral, more whatever. So that is it for this update. We'll see when the next update comes around. Might be in a couple of months, so stay tuned if you're interested. I am curious to see how long it's actually going to take to hit pan in one of these mattes. This is the only, or not the only, I do have the Major Dimensions 2 palette, but this is the first time I'm using a Patrick Ta palette The shimmers took a little bit longer. The first shimmer took a little bit longer to hit pan on than I was expecting. The second shimmer was the same type of formula I found, but it took a less amount of time. It's the very first matte that I'm working on for Patrick Ta, so I have no idea what to expect, except for that it may take a bit of time because of the pigmentation and the kick up that shows when I'm using it. So we'll just have to see. Stay tuned to find out if you're curious, but that is it. That's all for this update. So sorry it wasn't too exciting, but I didn't want to just completely skip over it, and I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to start just doing updates when there's a little bit more progress. So I'm not showing you the exact same thing every month with very little to no use, and that makes it kind of boring. So that is everything. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys all later. Bye.